Meanwhile, India is making a major push into Africa. India is wooing Africa, and this time with weapons. This story is about India's foray into the African arms bazaar. Last week, India invited the army chiefs of more than 30 African nations, 30 nations. The idea was to pitch made in India defense equipment. African military leaders got a chance to inspect Indian helicopters, drones, and artillery. And India is hoping that they'll come back as buyers. Why Africa, though? Why is India projecting itself as a defense supplier to Africa? Because there's a gap, there's a market. Africa cannot afford expensive military supplies. It wants cheap arms. And that's how India is positioning itself, a supplier that gives value for money. It's already found takers. Some African countries have started buying arms from India, like Egypt, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Mauritius, and the Seychelles. And what are they buying? We don't have the specifics, but reports say a little less than 20% of India's arms exports go to Africa. Some deliveries have been made this year, like these military trucks. They were built by India for the Royal Moroccan Army. And how many trucks did Morocco buy? Nearly 100. There's another reason why Africa is interested in Indian wares. It's because of India's collaborative approach. India is committed to not just supplying arms to Africa, it is also helping the region build its own capacities. Last week, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spoke about this. He addressed the African defence chiefs and he promised support to Africa's defence industry. Let me quote from what he said. The Indian defence industry can work with you to fulfill your defence requirements with the aim to empower our African friends to indigenously meet their defence requirements. We are also committed to sharing our expertise and knowledge in defence manufacturing, research and development. What more can India offer? In recent years, India has overcome its hesitation on defence exports. In fact, it has been actively pushing made in India weapons like advanced towed artillery guns, the BrahMos missile, the Akash missile system, armoured vehicles and light combat helicopters, just to name a few. Recently, India has been courting Southeast Asia too. Major deals have been signed. Countries like the Philippines have bought the BrahMos missile. Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand and Myanmar have also expressed interest. Last year, reports said South Africa was also keen on buying the BrahMos. In 2022, South Africa organized the Africa Aerospace and Defence Expo. It happened in Cape Town. The makers of the BrahMos were present there. They'd set up a pavilion. So Indian defence equipment is generating a lot of interest in Africa. And this serves two purposes: defence sales for India and deeper ties with Africa, including defence ties. In fact, military drills are being stepped up. In the month of March, India hosted a major joint exercise, the Africa-India Field Training Exercise, or AF-INDEX. It was a 10-day-long exercise. Militaries of 24 African countries participated. And what did they focus on? Humanitarian mine assistance and United Nations peacekeeping operations. So India's influence in Africa is growing, although Russia still remains the dominant force in the region. Russia is the largest supplier of weapons to Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, Russia has a 26% market share. But the war in Ukraine has distracted Russian defense contractors. They're prioritizing the Russian military, and for obvious reasons. Even deliveries to India from Russia are now running late. And this might force African militaries to look for alternatives. India is clearly at a vantage point. And this is yet another opportunity for Make in India in defense.